Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. For a long time, Tristan slowly disappeared from the top of the meta. He remained a solid hero, but compared to the incredible power spikes we've seen from newer heroes and relics, honor compositions gradually became more situational. But Guardians, that may be about to change. Today we're finally looking at Tristan's relics, and if the rest of the kit is anything like this first relic, honor may have just received one of the biggest upgrades we've seen in a long time. So let's start with relic level 1, Seal of Retribution. Every 11 seconds, Tristan targets the enemy with the highest magic penetration. If no enemy has magic penetration, he instead targets the farthest enemy on the battlefield. Immediately, Tristan applies silence for 4 seconds to that target and all nearby enemies, while also dealing physical damage. Now, at first glance you may think, okay, it's just another silence. But I don't think that's the interesting part. The real value comes from who Tristan is targeting. Most heroes with high magic penetration are usually your primary magic damage dealers. Heroes that rely on casting abilities constantly to control the battlefield or eliminate your team. Silencing them for 4 entire seconds is already a massive disruption. But because the silence also spreads to nearby enemies, Tristan suddenly becomes a hero capable of shutting down multiple backline threats at the same time. And remember, this happens automatically every 11 seconds. No ultimate required. No special conditions. Just constant pressure throughout the battle. Now let's think a little further. The more we test the current honor heroes, the more one thing becomes obvious. This relic wasn't designed to work alone. It was designed to work with other heroes. Immediately one name comes to mind. Crow. Crow already punishes enemies through silence and constant pressure, and now Tristan joins him by repeatedly applying another large area silence every 11 seconds. Instead of relying on a single source of control, you're now layering multiple silence effects throughout the fight, making it much harder for enemy teams to execute their rotations. And that's where I start asking myself, is Tristan really still just a situational hero? Personally, I'm beginning to think the answer is no. Not because of this relic alone, but because this relic is the beginning of an entire package that dramatically increases Tristan's synergy with several honor heroes. If the following relics continue building on this silence mechanic, if they continue rewarding armor penetration, if they continue scaling his team support, then Tristan may no longer be picked only for specific matchups. He could become a genuine piece of modern honor compositions once again. And honestly, that's exactly what honor has been waiting for. This first relic isn't flashy. It isn't designed to one-shot enemies. Instead, it quietly disrupts the opponent's entire game plan while creating incredible synergy with heroes that already benefit from enemies being silenced and constantly pressured. And the best part, we're only getting started. Because if this is what Relic Level 1 brings to Tristan, I can't wait to see what happens at Relic Level 10. Now let's move on to Relic Level 10. Purifier's Wrath. Before the relic, this ability was quite straightforward. Tristan attacked nearby enemies, dealing physical damage. It was a solid source of damage, but nothing that really changed how you built teams around him. With the relic, everything changes. Now, every enemy hit by Purifier's Wrath is also affected by silence for 4 seconds, while the skill itself deals even more physical damage. And this is where Tristan starts becoming much more than just an armor penetration support. He's becoming a control hero as well. Think about what we've already seen. Relic level 1 periodically silences the enemy with the highest magic penetration and everyone around them. Now Relic level 10 adds another source of silence directly into one of Tristan's regular abilities. That means enemies are constantly being interrupted throughout the fight. Their rotations become slower. Their ultimates are delayed. And teams that depend on chaining abilities together suddenly become much less reliable. But what excites me the most isn't Tristan himself. It's the heroes that now become even stronger because of him. The first one that immediately comes to mind is Crow. Crow already loves fighting against enemies affected by silence, and now Tristan keeps adding more and more opportunities for Crow to punish the enemy team. Instead of relying on a single silence source, you're creating layers of control across the battlefield, making it incredibly difficult for opponents to execute their game plan. Then we have Thea. Many players don't immediately think about her, but Thea has always appreciated longer fights where her healing and support have time to shine. The more enemies remain silenced, the less pressure they apply to your team, giving Thea exactly what she wants: more time to keep everyone alive. And honestly, this doesn't stop with those two heroes. Any composition built around control immediately becomes more interesting. Every additional silence increases the value of heroes that benefit from disrupting enemy abilities. Instead of allowing opponents to freely rotate through their skills, Tristan helps create a battlefield where the enemy spends more time unable to cast than actually playing. That's a huge difference. And let's not forget, Tristan still brings one of the strongest armor penetration buffs in the game. So now you're combining outstanding offensive support with repeated sources of silence and increased physical damage. Suddenly Tristan isn't only helping your team deal more damage. He's actively preventing the enemy from responding. That's why, the more I look at these relics, the more convinced I become that Tristan is moving away from being just a situational pick. He's starting to become a hero that enables completely new honor compositions while also fitting naturally into teams built around control and constant pressure. And the best part? We're still only at Relic level 10. The really exciting upgrades are still ahead of us. Now let's move on to Relic level 20. Blessed Vanguard. At first glance, this relic might not seem as exciting as the previous two. In fact, when you first read it, you may even think it's one of the weaker upgrades. But I actually think it's exactly the opposite. The reason is simple. This relic isn't about Tristan becoming stronger. It's about making the entire team cycle energy much faster. Let's first look at the original skill. Normally, whenever the ally standing directly in front of Tristan gains energy, Tristan gains exactly the same amount. It's a passive ability that has always worked quietly in the background, constantly helping Tristan reach his abilities faster. The limitation, however, has always been obvious. Very few heroes naturally play directly in front of Tristan. But even with that limitation, there are already several interesting possibilities. Imagine Julius constantly generating energy while refreshing his shields over and over again. Imagine Luther, repeatedly gaining energy, as he keeps disrupting the enemy formation and surviving longer inside the opposing team. Even Galahad becomes another interesting option, continuously feeding Tristan while applying pressure on the front line. The original skill already created small energy engines. What the relic changes everything. Now the energy sharing is no longer limited to the hero standing in front of Tristan. Instead, every ally whose physical attack is higher than their magic attack at the start of the battle receives 30% of the energy Tristan gains from this skill. And suddenly, everything opens up. Now you're no longer building around one hero. You're building around an entire physical team. Every physical damage dealer starts benefiting from Tristan's energy generation, creating a much faster rotation of abilities across the battlefield. And that's where I think this relic becomes incredibly exciting. Imagine Yasmine cycling through her ultimate faster than ever before. Imagine Oya, already one of the fastest heroes in the game, reaching her abilities even sooner. And yes, imagine Leonel. I know many Guardians have been asking us to cover Leonel, and don't worry. We're almost there. But this interaction immediately caught my attention. Leonel already has excellent energy generation on his own. Now combine that with Tristan constantly feeding additional energy into the team. The result is an incredibly fast energy cycle where both heroes continuously fuel one another while the rest of your physical team benefits at the same time. That's exactly the kind of passive synergy that often ends up defining future meta compositions. Because unlike burst mechanics that happen once, energy generation never stops. It keeps happening. Again. And again. Throughout the entire battle. The faster your heroes reach their abilities, the faster they begin another cycle. And another. And another. Personally, I think this relic is going to surprise a lot of players. It doesn't immediately jump off the screen like a huge damage multiplier, but once people begin testing different physical compositions, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes one of Tristan's most valuable upgrades. Because in Hero Wars, faster energy almost always means faster victories. And now, we arrive at Relic level 30. Honestly, this is the relic that completely changed my opinion about Tristan. Sinner's Payback. Whenever Tristan or any of his allies penetrate an enemy's armor, that enemy immediately receives additional physical damage equal to 200% of the amount by which their armor penetration exceeds the target's armor. Take a second to think about that. This isn't simply increasing Tristan's own damage. This relic rewards your entire team every single time they overpenetrate an enemy's armor. And that's huge. Because Tristan has always been one of the best heroes at enabling physical teams through his incredible armor penetration support. Now, he's also rewarding those teams with an enormous burst of bonus damage. Immediately, one hero comes to mind. Yasmine. She already reaches absurd amounts of armor penetration, and now every time she exceeds her target's armor, this relic punishes that enemy with even more damage. Against squishier backlines, those numbers are going to climb incredibly fast. Then there's Drayne. We've talked about him many times on Olympus Alliance, and one of the reasons we love Drayne is exactly how much armor penetration he naturally builds. His swords already erase enemies from the battlefield, but now imagine every successful armor penetration also triggering additional damage through Tristan's relic. That's a terrifying combination. And of course, Dante. Another hero capable of reaching very high armor penetration values while attacking constantly throughout the fight. Every attack. Every armor penetration trigger. Another wave of bonus damage. And suddenly you realize, this relic doesn't belong to Tristan alone. It belongs to every physical damage dealer that can capitalize on armor penetration. That's why I keep saying these relics aren't simply making Tristan stronger. They're making honor teams stronger. They're creating new synergies. They're opening the door to completely new physical compositions. And personally, I no longer see Tristan as just a situational pick. After looking at all four relics together, the constant silence, the incredible control, the energy cycling, and now this massive armor penetration payoff, I genuinely believe Tristan has everything he needs to become a core piece of modern honor teams once again. Of course, theory is only the beginning. Now it's time to put everything into practice. Over the next few days, we'll be testing dozens of different Tristan compositions, exploring his strongest synergies, his best partners, and seeing exactly where he fits in the current meta. We'll build our top Tristan teams, compare different combinations, and find out which heroes truly unlock the full potential of these incredible relics. So if you don't want to miss those tests, make sure you're subscribed, because the real fun starts now. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship.